watch us a lot. We certainly appreciate your continued support, and I feel like you know a lot about this team this far into the season. So happy to answer any questions. Michael, you're good to go.
Okay. Uh, Courtney, you guys have obviously seen a big statistical jump and a jump in minutes from Sierra this
Yeah.
season, and something that was needed after Maria and Alyssa both graduated. What has sort of been the key to unlocking that from her? Because I mean, 15 rebounds in a game against Georgia Tech, those are pretty serious numbers.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, I think sometimes in this excitement of news, we talk a lot about the transfer portal and additions of kids that have had a ton of success or a ton of experience somewhere else. I think we sort of undertell the stories of those that develop, right? And I think for her, although she wasn't playing a ton of minutes, because of who was in front of her, she was getting better and better and better. And so both from a physical standpoint and from a basketball standpoint and from a rhythm standpoint and all the things. It's a big jump, especially for someone who misses her senior year in high school, given the knee injuries she sustained, and then she, of course, had a redshirt her first year here. So it's a big jump with the concepts and speed and size and toughness, and so she just kind of stacked days, and I think none of us were surprised, but we certainly needed it. To your point, so yeah, I think she just is a story of the development that our jobs are. We're still listed as coaches. And so our job is to develop the talent that we have. And I think we've done that a really good job here.
When you look at NC State, they, like you guys, lost a lot of production from a really good team last season,
Mhm.
and they had kind of a bumpy start. They lost some games, but they've improved a lot. They're, in position to get a double bye in the league. So, what stands out to you about what makes them a dangerous team?
Yeah. I mean, I think first off, it's, yeah, like you said, the two youngest teams in the league going at it. How fun, right? And also, on the Play for K, which is kind of where it all started at NC State, and how honored and lucky we are to get to be a part of it. It's touched, unfortunately, breast cancer has touched every single person on this call and in this world at this point, with some degrees of separation. So, to have that platform is really exciting for us, especially for with the fact that our hospital system here is so good, and both schools, contribute to that. So, state's always been good. It's led by a really good coach, and they've had really good players. And so, oh, look at that face, so cute. So we, and like us, with lots of new pieces and new roles and a lot of new. Because our jobs every year are to play to the strengths of your best players, and so for your systems do change time to time. And so get both teams getting better as the season has gone on, and so, I think, we expect another one of these kind of rivalry rock fights, which I know both teams and both fan bases are get excited about.
Hey, Coach. I was just going to ask you about kind of the state of the league this season. I mean, this might be a year where, there's only like two or three teams in the top 16, but maybe like 10 get into the field. It really feels like a league or a year where like anybody can beat anybody. And
Yeah.
you guys took Louisville to overtime. You beat Cal. Cal just beat Notre Dame. You haven't played Duke yet, so we don't know about that. What do you just think about kind of what the ACC looks like this year and maybe
Yeah.
how that compares to previous years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the also, Syracuse is really good. I
Yeah.
mean, Virginia Tech is really good. I mean, I think there's been our league is deep. I think we've been like that. The last year, the Big Ten got in a lot of teams, but we had more teams in the Sweet 16, right? And so I think sometimes I know that every game is important, and you can't ignore either bad losses or close losses or big wins or slim wins. You can't ignore any of those. I get it, but it also is the tournament is played in March, right? It's not played it's not played in October. It's not played in November. And I think the committee always has to look at where the teams are in March, and to properly place them. And yeah, I think our league will all be battle tested. We'll feel like we've got a variety of systems, which is always the case. But I said this early, and I'll say it again. I think, well, let's see how it all plays out once the middle of April hits, and how good our teams did in the postseason, because I think our teams are a lot better than some think. I think you guys know it, so you know that. But I stand by it. Too many good players, too many good coaches, too many good systems, too many good universities, that it might be a league that because we lost a lot through graduation and some through transfer, it took some time to get to where we are. But I think as a league, we like where we are right now.
Yeah. And then I was going to ask you just about state, what, the real big new piece they have this year is Camille Pierre.
Mhm.
One of the nation's top rebounders, I think, this
Mhm.
season. What kind of challenges does she present in terms of a scout?
They present challenges kind of across their roster. Pierre, it's hard to be a basketball fan and not respect what she's been able to do. She's got great touch around the rim. She's got that Dirk move is really hard to guard. She's great from 15 feet. She can handle it. She can run. She's got like a pogo stick on the glass. I mean, there's lots of things that she does. And so anytime you have to deal with multiple problems, and she provides multiple problems. And so but you also look at Zoe Brooks, who's been kind of one of the elite guards in our league for a long time, and has to be more of a scorer this year, where she was facilitating more last year, and she's quite capable of doing both, right? And then Zamaria, our in-state product, has done. She's really explosive offensively, right? And then you've got some experienced pieces with Tilda had a great year last year and continues to be, all that they need. I mean, they just have a really nice team, and I think it's easy to say, well, are they as good as last year? Well, they also had two first-round draft picks who had considerable pro careers so far in their first year. So there is a little bit of an adjustment in that way, but they're stronger in some cases too. I think it's just a really good team playing at home, for a cause that has meant a lot to that university and to our state. So you can't underplay that. And then, of course, the rivalry, the familiarity that both teams have. I mean, that's a formidable challenge, and we know that. Of
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Coach, for doing this.
course.
Obviously, you guys have there's some great home court advantages at NC State, at Duke, at Carolina. I
Mhm.
wonder if you've gotten involved at all in this discussion about what to do with the new basketball arena, and
Mhm.
if you would like to see the women's team, move somewhere bigger, somewhere off campus. Just some of your thoughts on where we kind of are with that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always good reasons, right? I think decision makers have to make decisions, and they always have more information than everybody else, right? There's a revenue thing. Times have changed where revenue really matters, and we sell out men's games at 18,000 night after night, and however we can get the most revenue from that would help all things. And of course, anything new means that it's more caught up in terms of recovery space and nutrition and all the ways that athletics has changed since the Dean Dome was built. And you can kind of put it under one roof and put the men and women together. There's a lot of value to that too. And so, I love hoop enough. I'll play on the moon, but I do understand that I think we sometimes say some of the nostalgia and history would be lost. I think people like good teams, right? And they like really good teams wherever those teams are. And if revenue now sort of determines how good your team can be, then we should prioritize revenue, right? And so I think that's some of the discussions that we have to have. Also, the campus expansion. I know when we first moved the Dean Dome, they called it what? They called it the Dean Dome in Pittsburgh. So change can be hard for folks. I understand that. Again, I don't have as much information. I have more than y'all, but I don't have as much as the main decision makers. And I trust that the decision makers are going to make the right decision for basketball being such an important thing at Carolina in 2025. I mean, I think that's the decision. We're not making these decisions for 1984 or for 2005. We're making them for 2025 through 2045, right? And so I don't have enough. The decision makers I'm going to trust, but I look forward to being a part of the change in the new.
Do you think you guys would gain something or lose something by moving to a bigger venue? And I mean, certainly having practice facilities nearby and all that stuff. But as far as the atmosphere, would you gain anything or lose
We already
anything?
have our practice gym is already right above our locker room, right above the court level. So we have kind of a really good system. But again, I think people aren't coming for the seats or the brick and mortar. They're coming for the teams, right? And so yeah, I think we would benefit more than lose. If it's bigger, we'd have opportunity for more fans. And that means the better our team is, even more fans. We are kind of, it's interesting. I'm from the Northeast, right? I'm a diehard Patriots fan, go Drake May. But it's pro sports up there, right? We don't have a ton of college sports here. God, I've only lived here 7 years and it's so college, right? So if you make it bigger, more will come, as long as our team stays good. And I think with revenue, we can continue to do that.
Courtney, first of all, go Pats. I was born in
Totally.
Massachusetts, but this is the second time you guys will have played Monday, Thursday, Sunday sequence in a week. I know
Brutal.
you
Yeah.
guys played 3 games in a row when you were in Cancun, but it's
Yeah.
different when you're traveling to different locations and
And
then
you're
the
playing it's
ACC.
Power Four teams. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Do you like this setup, or are there things you would like to see changed about like the amount of games you can fit into a week, or like the pluses and minuses of doing this, basically?
Yeah, I mean, it's knowing we're playing on a Monday, the fact that we're not playing, we didn't play yesterday. So instead we have we have no game for 8 days and then 3 games in 7 days. It's sort of an odd scheduling module, I will say. But we certainly want to be involved in the play for K on a Monday night. So we don't want to lose the Monday night game. Would have been great to switch the Thursday night game maybe. But at the same time, these kids didn't come to Carolina to practice, and as much as a coach loves practice, as much as we love practice, the players love the games more. And so I think for them, they would rather practice 3 games in a week, and that means less practice time. I mean, they'd rather play 3 games a week and less practice time. But it is odd that we have 8 days of no game and then 3 in 7 days. But I don't get to make the schedule.
Courtney, just a little bit, like I was looking at, I do the roundup every 2 weeks. I was looking at player of the week, and there's a lot of teams kind of doing it by committee and not having one star, obviously with a couple exceptions, maybe in like Virginia and Notre Dame. Is it
Mhm.
kind of nice to have that many players you can count on for a chunk, or would you rather have 1 or 2 players you can put the ball in their hands and know what they're going to do?
Yeah, gosh, I think that's a really good question because consistency is great, right? And last year's team, we basically had a few number of people that were healthy the whole time and that were ready to contribute at any given moment. And I was dying for a little bit more depth, right? And now we have a lot more depth, but maybe not as, maybe we haven't had as many of the most consistent contributors of what you're going to get from Alyssa Usby, et cetera. And so I think that's the beauty of college athletics. Our teams are different year to year, and our job is to play to the strengths of them. So I think it's, as long as it sounds so easy, but whatever helps us win is the one I'd rather have. And so in games that we win, I'm so glad we have the depth. And in games that we don't win, I wish we had the consistency. I'm sure that's probably what comes out of my mouth after those games. Anybody else?
That's it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess just and again, apologies if
No,
you've
no,
already
you're
been
good.
asked this.
You're good.
Hopping on a little late. I'm at the airport right now, but
You're good.
just for you, personally, just what does this Play for K opportunity mean? Just
Mm,
if you have any personal
yeah,
anecdotes, folks in your life,
I
so
do.
many people have been touched by
Yeah, I
cancer,
do.
unfortunately.
I
So
think the biggest one is probably that when I did my graduate thesis in college I did an oral history on sport leadership where I interviewed 20 coaches face to face and got to learn about kind of my own indirect way of finding out if coaching was actually a vocation that would be good for me. And my 2 hours with Kay Yao was my most memorable. Well, Gina was pretty memorable too, but what Kay was able to articulate in her with her authenticity in the profession, kind of in a way, I hate to glamorize it, I'm not doing this for a story. It's more just, it really did give me some validation that like your authenticity is your superpower. And the way Kay Yao coached is very different than the way Pat Summitt or Gino or Gail Gestencourse or, you name many of the coaches that I talked to and spent time with. But her way was her way, and you could get behind it because it was her, right? It so fit her personality. And as I was getting ready to leave, she just said, this business needs good women. So I really hope it's one that you choose. Right. And that meant a lot to me because anyone who's ever met Kay Yao, she's a good woman. Right. And so if a good woman tells you you're a good woman, you're doing all right. And so, yeah, I think to be able to, of course, we've had our own play for K games, both at Princeton and here, but to be able to be in the one that she sort of started, that's no small deal to me for sure. And then, yeah, we've had it on our own staff, we've had it in our families. This is a serious health issue for women. And I don't want to celebrate or share mine more than anybody else's because everybody's is important. And I think the strength in numbers that this event brings, both to those that have to heal from loss or those that are get to celebrate the fight. It just there is strength in numbers, and it's just right that Carolina and NC State are playing it together at state. We share a hospital system. I mean, all the things. I mean, it's just such a the right matchup. Two really good teams you can count on year after year. Two passionate fan bases, and for the greater good now, right? For the greater good. So. Yeah, I've got lots of stories, but none of mine are more important than yours, except that I've, my personal connection with Kay Yao.
yeah, I guess I appreciate that. Just I guess following up briefly, and you said that kind of within your basketball family, um, obviously with Dana, who worked for so many years in the athletic department and was a big
Yeah.
part of y'all's team. Just curious how, you guys are maybe commemorating her, remembering her with this game or just in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that stuff we're going to bring out, you'll see at game time, because we want to honor some of the people that have that we've lost and that are fought and won and all the things. So as they will, I'm sure I don't know exactly how they're going to do it for the people close to their families and in their programs, but this isn't like we wear pink and we play a game, right? There are a lot of conversations that are happening in locker rooms, a lot of conversations that are happening in living rooms, and then we get to bring those to light on national TV, right? And so some of those you'll see in what we wear and in how we communicate kind of on game day.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be touching. I'm looking forward to it. And a very harsh transition, so apologies. But
You're good.
you've been asked about this already, I'm sure. But obviously, a little bit of wonky scheduling, just given the men's game that night, and also it's the only time that you guys are playing
Yeah.
NC State. Again, I know you don't make the schedule, but just your kind of, I guess, just reaction
Yeah.
to that.
I think we've got to figure out, I think Wes and I both have an appetite to figure out how we play this game twice, right? Especially in the NIL era, if we can find a sponsor, do we play this game in Greensboro and allow our players to reap some benefit of a great rivalry that they, in part, have chosen these schools because of, right? But we've got to figure it out because we both also play in the SEC Challenge. We both have our own scheduling challenges. We also, we already are playing, our own challenging schedules. So we've got to kind of figure it out. But I'm fairly certain that both sides know the value of this game and both for our players and for the communities. And so the fact that we're playing it once, not great. But the fact that we're playing it once and on the Play for K game is it, right? That's really great. I'm excited about that. As for the 3 games in 7 days or whatever it is, versus no game in 8 days, it's odd and it's a module that probably could have been done a little bit differently. But I'm not privy to those conversations or decisions. So I don't get to figure that part out.
Appreciate it. Sorry, I'm going hard. So yeah, if anyone else wants to jump in, please cut me off. But I'm curious, just kind of scouting. Obviously, they have some familiar pieces coming back, and
Yeah,
Zoe and Zam, but Camille, obviously, a big part of that group, and really,
of course.
sought after recruits. For a lot of schools.
Yeah.
What maybe stood out to her when I guess she kind of became an option in guess not the port, but you know what I mean, in the off
Yeah, yeah,
season,
yeah.
and what maybe stands out to her now and what she's able to do for that, just scouting
Gosh,
that.
you average 20 and 10 in the SEC, right? And in the portal, you want experience. No one's taking a rookie in the portal, right? And so what you want is some proven success. And talk about proven success, that's Camille Pierre written all over it, right? And then she comes to NC State at a time of opportunity, right? I'm sure there are kids that are behind her that are saying, darn, on their own team. But, certainly that she's kind of been an all-league performer and now gets to play in a different league. And so she's a very important part of the scout, right? I think she's leading them in scoring, but she's certainly leading them in overall impact if you're talking defense, rebounding, running, all the things. But that's no shade to how good Zoe and Zam have been all year for them. I mean, and then Tilda Trigger, she's been a problem. I mean, she's being sort of in the back seat behind Pierre, but inside that locker room and inside that program, I'm sure they're celebrating what Tilda brings as well. So yeah, it's just a neatly pieced team. Maybe they don't have two first round draft picks in this year's team, but they have a whole lot of winning, and they have a home court advantage anytime they play, which is a testament to their operation. And they have really good players at all positions. I mean, they've got a couple all league players again on that roster. So as I said to start the call, you got the 2 youngest teams in the ACC too. So how fun for this community. These 2 communities that probably will see a lot of familiar faces annually over the next few years.
And for the Triangle community too, it's interesting. I just remember talking in the preseason to some of the players, and they talked about obviously, at that time, the 3 Triangle schools preseason ranked top of the ACC, and they talked
Mhm.
about, yeah, like this is one of the reasons that I came here is to play in these rivalry matchups, to come
Yeah,
to an area that's you have these great programs in such a short distance. I'm just curious
yeah,
what you see as the importance of the I guess the rivals kind of respective
yeah.
strength, the strength of the triangle in, continuing to grow this program here.
Part of why, right, is the proximity, because now you get at NC State, we'll have fans that are from Carolina. At Duke, we'll have fans that are from Carolina. At our game against Duke, there'll be fans from Duke. So they're close enough. It's not like, when you go play down in Atlanta or in Florida, right? You'll have kind of your main donors and your main fans come, but for the most part, it's an away game. You'll see a lot of familiar faces on both sides of the fan bases for all the games. So the proximity is kind of what makes it really attractive and really interesting. And also, most people on the teams have visited all three schools, right? Like if you're a really talented top 15 player from wherever and you're coming out to look at Carolina, you often look at the other two while you're here, and vice versa, right? And so there's a lot of familiarity amongst all the players and coaches, and you kind of have a relationship with a lot of the players on the other teams, because you've recruited them as well, or you spent time with them on a recruiting campus, right? Because of our proximity. So again, coming from a pro sports model up in the Northeast, this is it. I mean, this is it. This is the ticket in town, and to be a part of that, I think for sure we'll bring up in recruiting.
I appreciate it. And then I think last one for me is just, speaking to the environment over there at Reynolds. Obviously, we know it's going to be popping for a game like this. I guess just specifically in this era where, and not as much for your team as some other teams, but generally year to year, there's so much roster turnover. What's the importance of kind of having some folks that have maybe played in that environment and can, really tell their teammates what to expect, just kind of in an environment, a game like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to prepare for, right? Because until you see it, it's sort of like it's hard to prepare to beat UCLA until you see their size. So that is a little bit, you just kind of, you go out and you roll it out, right? I think this being a play for K, I do think there'll be a bit of a more kind of, I hope, a more respectful tone to the game for both sides, because there is a legitimate, this is a cause that we get to bring eyes. There'd be a lot of eyes watching this game regardless. And then you throw it on E1 and you put it on, the play for K. I mean, talk about playing for something and people that are both hurting and winning, on both sides of the disease. There is something bigger here. And I know that Wes's close relationship with Kay Yao and Debbie Yao as well, like there's no doubt, right? And so we hope our fans understand the bigger moment.
Yeah, and I said last one, but I lied, because I'm curious about this. Going back to the authenticity of that conversation that you had with Kay as part of, that project, that research project that you did. You talked again, the authenticity. Was there maybe a piece of advice, a phrase that you really remember that still sticks with you to this day?
That relationships, that she really, as competitive as she was, that she felt like coaching for her was relationships around a basketball, basically. And, I've always loved people and been interested in their journeys, and that's a lot of how I coach as well. And so, her, sometimes you wonder, gosh, the basketball is only part of it. And is that going to make me a good enough coach? And she really validated that the relationship actually is the coaching part. It just happens to be basketball and not a soccer ball. So yeah, there were a ton of takeaways, but mostly it was just that how she was in that office was how she coached her team, which meant you didn't have to be anything besides the best version of yourself to find success, right? And that really stuck with me.
Thank you so much.
One
Appreciate
more
your time.
going off kind of what Shelby said. When I first got here, the 2023 Play for K game up at State, they lost it, and they were a little I want to say extra mad. Like this is a game that they really don't like to lose. Have you kind of been aware of that, mentioned it to the team at all?
No, I think the competitiveness of our league, we respect across the board. We could play NC State on a Tuesday and in Alaska, or we could play Duke and in South Dakota on a Wednesday, and the competitiveness inside the lines. I think that you don't have to over articulate. I think there's no secrets that they'd like to beat us any day they can play them. But I think there's an honoring. I think I can't speak for Wes. For me, there's an honoring of the fact that everyone's playing a play for K game, but the one at NC State is where it started, right? And so to get to be a part of that is we get to bring the amount of energy and motivation and excitement that these fan bases in this state has for these two programs. We get to bring it for a cause. That's winning. But no, I think they'll want to beat us wherever we play them. I don't think they want to beat us any less when they play at our place.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick clarification on the arena stuff that I asked about
Yeah, of
earlier. Are
course.
you on any of those committees, or have you
There's
had
there's
your? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's a lot of different conversations. Obviously, those ones that are funding it don't include me. The ones that are dealing with the zoning in the state aren't don't include me. The ones that involve the basketball part of it include me. So yeah, I think the Chancellor Roberts and his team have been very public and open about the fact that this isn't a unilateral decision that he woke up one morning and said, "Let's talk about this." I think it's coming out a lot of different ways. So he's built a variety of committees upon their expertise. And so Hubert and I really understand what makes a good basketball arena, in terms of whether it's a rebuild or a new. And so those are the ones that we're a part of.
Do we have any
Thanks.
other questions for Coach, everyone?
I have one last one,
Yeah.
if there's time. I was going to ask you about, the changes to the transfer portal.
Mm.
The NCAA is moving it back to after the national championship game.
Mhm.
It's going to be open for, I think, 15 days. The coaches that I've talked to already, I got kind of like a mixed reaction from.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
it's good that everybody's sort of on the same timeline now, but
Mhm.
there are still problems with amateur agents and the influence of those things.
Mhm.
And, kids are probably gonna decide if they're gonna transfer or not way before that window even opens. So I was just
Mhm.
wondering kind of what your
Yeah.
takeaway on it
I
is.
mean, that's happening now,
Yeah.
right? And so I don't think it's just, that's literally happening now. You're seeing it on the news for other sports. I don't think our sport is any different, right? So I think I can be on all sides of it, quite honestly. In men's and women's basketball on the pro level, imagine, you wouldn't do this until after the season. You don't get into any of this. So it's consistent with our highest level. And also, is it a rush to get into the portal because you want to get in before all the best players get in? And so maybe more people are transferring because they're getting in early before the people that are still playing so that they can get a home, right? Or, the people that are playing, unfortunately, that has not been me yet, but people in the Final Four are actually hosting visits and, all the things. But in terms of kids knowing, there are kids on every roster that know right now that they have all levels. I'm definitely leaving. I might leave. I think I might leave. I'm not sure. I'm not leaving. Like they're all, that's ongoing. And so I think until we live in it, also we're kind of attached to the 15-day window because that's what they did for football. And I think we'd all like it to be shorter, but they're not going to
Mhm.
let women's basketball be shorter than anybody else. And then we're kind of a group with men's basketball. And so their opinion matters too. Right. And so I think again, these decisions there's no one way to do it. And I think if there was, we would have all figured it out by now. Um, so it's like I feel about the recruiting calendar. Once the rules are set, we try to make the right decisions. And then once they're set, we got to live with them. And so this one has been decided and now we got to live with it and do it to the best of our ability. But hopefully, it makes, I don't know, I always look for the positive, me, like maybe less kids will go in because they're trying to beat the people who are still playing, who can maybe get a home. Right. And so now all at the same time, but then again, there's so much tampering. Maybe people know, I don't know. I don't know. It's just a hard one.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Shelby, you do have one last question?
Yeah, sorry. I guess going off of that, I mean, you brought up the tampering. Obviously, Dabo had some pretty strong comments about that. I know that John Shire over at Duke had some strong comments about the situation with,
Yeah.
the Alabama player, the TRO, and it seems like there's an effort in, some of these college sports prominent coaches speaking out and really trying to rally together with other coaches and have some productive conversations. I'm just curious, maybe on tampering or topics of this. Uh kind of realm. What is, I guess, the vibe, if you will, amongst women's college basketball leadership, and is there a similar effort to really
Yeah.
kind of have a come to Jesus moment? I guess I don't know how
Yeah,
else
for
to
sure. I
put
mean,
it.
everyone's trying to figure out within the rules, what's within the rules and what's not, but also where the rules need to change because is so that club coaches or agents aren't, they're basically allowed, so they might as well. And then you're like, yeah, that's not the spirit of the rule, right? And so, yeah, I think there clearly has got to be some overall, again, it depends on what we're doing. I mean, we're still tied to an educational institution, right? The pro sports aren't. So I think sometimes we choose a model that pro sports have, but it's different because we're tied to the academic curriculum. And there's money there because if you if you leave too late, you've already paid for summer school. I mean, there's just so many different things. So yeah, I don't think any of the women's coaches, just like the men, are just like, this is great. This is really working out awesome, and we'll make it work. It's more what changes can we make, both for the legal side and for the spirit of the rule side. And there's a lot of voices, and the coaches are one voice, one very small voice, right? There's a lot of other voices that have to get aligned as well. And so that's certainly something that's ongoing kind of across all sports that are being hit by this.
Awesome. If we don't have any more questions. Perfect. Thanks everyone for helping out. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
you.
Coach.
Thank you.